The training ground was buzzing with the sounds of drills, shouts, and the relentless clatter of boots on concrete. Yet, in one instant, everything froze. Eyes turned, rifles lowered, and even the seasoned instructors paused mid-command. All because she spoke a single word, her call sign. What followed next would leave even the most hardened soldiers questioning everything they thought they knew about skill, courage, and instinct. The sun had barely risen, casting a pale, almost hostile light across the training ground. Rows of recruits, dressed in crisp uniforms, stood at attention, their boots scuffing the gravel in precise unison. The air smelled of sweat, leather, and gun oil, a heady mix that seasoned soldiers recognized instantly as the scent of preparation, discipline, and challenge. Instructors barked orders with a rhythm that left no room for hesitation. Left face. About turn. Fire drill, move. The sound of rifles being loaded and feet hitting the ground echoed off the concrete walls that enclosed the compound. It was a place where the ordinary was tested and the exceptional had no choice but to rise, or be left behind. Among the recruits, she moved almost unnoticed at first. A quiet presence, blending into the disciplined chaos of the morning drills. Her uniform fit, her stance straight, her gaze calm, but there was a precision in her movements that set her apart. Every twist of her wrist while checking her weapon, every careful step across the gravel, carried a subtle confidence that the others lacked. She wasn't loud, but there was a rhythm to her actions, a silent command that drew attention even when her lips stayed shut. The seasoned instructors were already watching her, though they didn't yet know why. They had seen hundreds of recruits pass through this ground, each eager, nervous, some brash, others timid. But something about her made them pause, if only for a second, as if they sensed that the coming hours would be different. In this place, a single moment could shift everything, and she carried that unspoken potential with her, like a coiled spring waiting for release. It wasn't just the physical demands of the drills that challenged these recruits. Every shout, every timed exercise, every command that demanded split-second obedience was a test of nerves, instinct, and character. Most failed to rise above the noise, their mistakes blending into a sea of mediocrity. But she, with her quiet focus, had a way of cutting through the chaos, observing it, mastering it, and moving through it like a shadow that no one noticed until it struck. This morning was no different, yet it already carried a tension unique to her presence. Around her, recruits stumbled, whispered, and adjusted to the rigorous tempo of the training, but she remained anchored, her eyes scanning the ground, her mind calculating. Every step, every breath, every glance was deliberate. And though no one outside of her small circle knew it yet, the moment that would change the course of that morning, and the perception of everyone in the compound, was only minutes away. Even among the best of the best, talent and determination often reveal themselves in the smallest of details. She had arrived months earlier like any other recruit, quiet, observant, and almost invisible in a sea of eager faces. But it didn't take long for instructors to notice her precision. While others fumbled through drills, she moved with a rhythm that seemed preternatural, her hands and eyes synchronized in a way that suggested instinct guided her more than training alone. Her peers whispered about her in the mess hall and in the barracks. Some were in awe, some suspicious, and a few resentful. How could someone so unassuming excel at tasks that took others months, or even years, to master? She never spoke of herself or her past, only focused on the task in front of her, as if each drill were a puzzle to solve rather than a trial to endure. The more her fellow recruits tried to compete, the more effortless she appeared. Instructors began to give her the most difficult tasks, expecting failure, or at least some mistake they could note. But she didn't just succeed, she redefined the parameters. A complicated weapons assembly that had stumped others for weeks was completed flawlessly under her hands in minutes. Tactical exercises meant to disorient and overwhelm recruits became a dance of calm efficiency in her performance. And yet, she never sought attention, never flaunted her talent. She simply existed, competent and composed, letting her actions speak louder than words. Her presence created subtle tension among the group. Those who had relied on their raw strength, their loud confidence, or their reputation now found themselves uncertain in her quiet shadow. Yet, no one could deny it. She was exceptional. And while some envied her, others couldn't help but watch in silent admiration, knowing instinctively that her arrival would alter the dynamic of the training ground forever. But it wasn't just skill that set her apart, it was her mind. She analyzed every exercise, every command, every pattern of behavior from instructors and peers alike. Mistakes weren't just failures to her, they were data points, lessons to be mastered. And in the crucible of training, where impatience often led to disaster, her patience and calculated composure became her greatest weapon. As the weeks passed, small challenges foreshadowed something larger, something no one could yet predict. Recruits would see her pause for a split second, eyes narrowing, then execute a maneuver perfectly, a nuance that would have escaped the untrained observer. That split-second insight, that almost uncanny awareness of her surroundings, hinted at a deeper skill, one that extended beyond physical aptitude and tactical knowledge. It was a quiet brilliance, a presence that demanded attention without demanding it, preparing the ground for the moment that would leave the entire training compound stunned. The sun had climbed higher now, casting long shadows across the training ground. The rhythm of drills had intensified, commands shouted with sharper urgency, boots pounding in near-perfect synchronization. Tension crackled in the air, like electricity waiting to discharge. Recruits moved in unison, but every eye kept drifting toward her, drawn to her calm, almost imperceptible aura. It happened during a complex tactical exercise, one designed to test not only skill but split-second decision-making under pressure. A simulated ambush was underway. Smoke and noise enveloped the recruits, shouts and gunfire blending into chaotic harmony. Most panicked. Some froze. But she moved like water, fluid, deliberate, unshakable. Every decision she made, every step she took, seemed to anticipate the chaos rather than react to it. Then came the moment. The instructors called for all units to identify themselves on the comms, confirming position and readiness. One by one, recruits responded with practiced monotony. When her turn came, she spoke her call sign. The word cut through the air, not loud, not forceful, but sharp and precise. The sound was like a single note that stopped a symphony mid-play. Silence fell. Instant and complete. Boots paused, rifles lowered, jaws tightened. Even the instructors, veterans of countless exercises, froze in place, caught off guard. That single call sign carried weight no one had expected. It was more than identification. It was recognition, command, and authority bundled into one word. In that frozen instant, the training ground shifted. The hierarchy of skill, the assumed dynamics of power, the expectation of who was capable and who was not, all were questioned in a heartbeat. Her eyes didn't flinch, her posture didn't waver. She simply waited, letting the silence stretch, letting the unspoken acknowledgement of her presence sink in. Around her, recruits who had once doubted themselves, or her, suddenly understood that something extraordinary was among them. The tension that had been building for weeks, subtle but undeniable, reached its apex. What had been whispered about in barracks and mess halls became undeniable reality. She was not just another recruit. She was something beyond expectation, a force that could not be ignored, whose potential would redefine the rules of the training ground. Even the instructors, who prided themselves on seeing everything, felt a subtle shift in the room. They exchanged glances, a silent admission that the moment had arrived. From that instant onward, no drill, no command, no scenario would be approached in the same way. And all it took was a single, perfectly enunciated call sign to make that change, a moment that would be remembered, repeated, and revered long after the sun set on that training ground.